Okay. Hello, everyone. My name's. If you want a more vintage chasing beer, you wouldn't need to have a malt backwards beer. A malt backwards beer. Ooh, that sounds like a weird thing. Don't talk about weird things. I like weird things. This guy likes weird things. Now, granted, in terms of like malt forward or backwards, we're generally speaking in terms of like flavor profiles. So, in the case of the amber ale that we're making today, it's going to be more, you're going to taste more of the malt flavor. Hence, we call it a malt forward beer versus a hop forward beer. You would taste the hops more. That would be a that would be a hop favorite forward beer, like sort of like a pale ale. Classic would be an IPA, but all that stuff. But yeah, my name's Sugi Yamagawa, and I am absolutely terrible at prepping before stream. Well, actually, it's a mix. So for today, I got a lot of my equipment, like brew kettle, some of my various infrastructures here. I had a lot of that set up prior to stream. And I did that fairly late AM, close to noontime. And then I had to go and do my running around because I actually had to pick up the ingredients because I didn't have the ingredients yet. So I grabbed the ingredients, did all that fun stuff. Then I came home and it's like, oh no, I'm hungry. So I had to eat food because I like food, and then I ate the food I like, and then it's like, holy smokes, I have to stream in less than a half hour, and it was a mad dash to getting everything set up so that way I could hit the magic button at the magic time. But hey. I think it's all going to work out. I forgot to put goodies in my goodie bowl, but I can take care of that later. But other than that, I gotta say, I've been having a good Saturday. Not looking forward to tomorrow. Not looking forward to tomorrow in the least bit. Because Canada's air is going to escape Canada and come to my neck of the woods, and I don't want Canada's air to come to my neck of the woods because Canada has really cold air, and I don't want it coming anywhere near me. But I don't get to have a choice in that matter. That's just how things are going to be. But yeah, my name's Sugi Yamagawa. I'm just a regular guy VTubing my slow life hobbies in my 30s. And today is a brew day. This is going to be the last brew day of the year as far as stuff I'm planning to stream. Because I generally try to only do about 5-ish of these brew days per year, simply because, well, if you've been to one of these, you've pretty much been to them all. Is ultimately what it comes down to. But it's usually a good time. There's a lot of beer conversations. I do have a selections of brewskis with me. And yeah, we just hang out. We make beer, we yap about beer, and we don't just like yap about beer. We also talk about life because, well, we try to be a little bit cultured around here. We try to at least act like we're somewhat civilized adults. Maybe not the like highest level of adults, but you know what? At least okay-ish level adults. That's generally what I aim for as an individual. Like, I want to be a person who can own my mistakes, grow as a person, do all those fun things, but also be like, oh, there's a tree I want to climb it. Let's do it. Have a little bit of that child charm in your heart. But yeah. So I am also coincidentally very beer deficient right now, and I need to fix my beer deficiency. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be getting started off with an amber ale, the style of beer that we are going to be brewing today. And also I'm also kind of like experimenting with a slightly different setup for the Handcam. But yeah. Uh-oh. So, this is the Toho glassware. So this is the glassware you use if you wish to be a weeb, which I am. But I also do have this glass from Upland, and this is going to be what I call my showcasing glass. Because this is going to be the show off the beer glass, you know? But yeah, this is Wessex's Liberation Amber. Very, very good example of the amber beer style. This is the beer style we're going to be brewing today. The amber beer style is a beer style that is malt forward, i.e., when you're drinking the beer, you're mostly tasting the malt. And there's a lot of flavors in beer. That's what makes beer really fun, really interesting. But there's two main flavors in beer. One main flavor is the hops. Now, your IPAs, guess what? Your IPAs are going to have tons of that hop flavor. That's what an IPA is all about, Indian Pale Ale. Second off are your malt forward beer styles. The main pillars of that being porters and stouts, being the big examples of a malt forward beer style. Something that is a little bit malt forward, but not completely so, is our wonderful and humble amber we have here today. What about blueberry wheat beer? Blueberry wheat beer? Oh my goodness gracious, wheat beer. So here's the thing. Hops and malt are the two main flavors. Now, I would say for a wheat beer, they're kind of technically a bit, they're like a hair bit more malt flavored because the wheat definitely adds a very particular flavor profile to the beer versus like the hops are never going to be the star in a wheat ale. However, though, typically the wheat ales are a style of beer that will showcase the yeast flavors more. A really good classic example of that would be the humble but yet amazing Hefeweizen. Hefeweizen is a great example at showcasing what... Oh, okay. So, Blue Moon is not a blueberry wheat beer. Blue Moon is actually it is a wheat beer, but it's a wheat beer with citrus. Typically orange peel. But yeah, Blue Moon's good stuff though. I actually like a good Blue Moon. There was actually one time where my uncle took me and my dad out for drinks one time. And like my dad and my uncle, they were getting like the big like mass market. I think they're getting like Bud Light or Bushweiser, one of those things, you know? And it's like, okay, that's mass market beer. But for me, I got Blue Moons because Blue Moon was what they had available, and that was what I considered reasonably tasty as far as beer is concerned. But yeah, it's a wheat citrus beer. Very good beer. And so this kind of brings it, because so we got the two main pillars of flavor and beer. There's two main pillars, and then I would say there's three backup pillars to the main two. The three backups are yeast. You wanted to go. go yeast water adjuncts. Water's really important in beer, but I don't know if I want to call it one of the things that really supports flavor. Like, yeast is really important because without yeast we wouldn't have alcohol, but my goodness gracious. But yeast does do wonderful things for the flavor of a beer. Like, it is actually truly an important element to things. And then there's adjuncts. Adjuncts would, in the case of a Blue Moon, be citrus. Adjuncts are things outside the 4 typical ingredients in beer. The 4 main ingredients in beer are water, malt, hops, and yeast. Those are basically your bare minimal. Today's amber ale is only going to utilize those four ingredients. A Blue Moon has some citrus. And you know what? Blue Moons taste great. Absolutely not a problem in the world with adjuncts in beer, in my opinion. And one of the nice things about citrus is they kind of provide a nice foil for some of the wheat malt flavors you get. And, like, really they just pair really well. Like, there's a reason why Blue Moon is like the big mass market one, but there's also like tons of craft versions of stuff that is essentially a Blue Moon style beer, but also tastes different. But is also like that own microbrewery's like own version on that. But yeah, I have had beers that have used blueberry, but I don't think I've had a blueberry wheat though. Granted, that sounds interesting. And I also do have literature behind me. Once we get to a certain point, we can kind of like go through, and I've got I actually have a reference book that I have been looking at for a period of time. Well, I've had it for a period of time, and then I was actually just looking through it today. It was just like, oh my goodness gracious, there is some like really good ideas here that I eventually want to make. And we'll talk about some of those once we get to that point. But I think now is a good time to talk about what we're doing right now. Right now, I have my strike water heating up on my propane burner. Mom used to make beet wine. This really redhead got drunk at 14 once. My friend, oh no, the dredges! After I warned him not to puke out the window and left a big stain. Oh my! Oh, a beet wine. I've actually heard of beet wine. I've never had it. I don't have any experience with it, but I could. Holy smokes! The dredges of a beer, or a wine, or in anything. That can be some rough stuff. So, for those who do not know what the dredges are, we have containers called fermenters. Those fermenters are where we do our fermentation. At the bottom of the can. So the bottom of the thing. The very bottom of the thing. So this is not a fermenter. This is a kettle. But if this was a fermenter, at the very bottom of it, all the yeast would settle down there. All the bad stuff would settle down there. And when you package your alcohol, it's called racking. And we rack because all the sediment goes to the bottom, and we want to pull all the good stuff off the top. But you are left with a semi-liquidy solution at the bottom of your vessel. Those are called the dredges. Most of that contains dead yeast, which is probably why Mr. Spock's friend here puked after drinking that. The dredges can be intensely bitter, but also really good in vitamin B. Back in the early days of germ theory, there was a disease that plagued the South called pellagra. Pellagra was a disease where the human body is deficient in B vitamins. And this was caused due to It being the American South and a lot of people being malnourished because of the food they ate. The simple and easy solution to people, for people to no longer have pellagra, was brewer's yeast, which they basically take the dredges of the beer, they dry it out, and it's like this powdery form, very rich in B vitamins, and also something that you can like more reasonably transport and also like actually feed to people. And that's how we solved pellagra, which was a disease wretchedly rooted in inequality. But yeah, that is how beer has equaled things. Granted, beer has also unequaled things. Beer is a beverage that has had a really fun and really interesting history. Okay, I'm interested. What's my... Okay. So. But yeah, like there's a lot of like neat little like tidbits of history in beer. I mean, civilization primarily exists simply because of this beverage, you know? Like, making beer was one of the big reasons why we chose to settle down and do farming. Because farming's a lot of work, man. And if we were gonna settle down and farm, like, we better get something for our efforts. And this is what we get for our efforts. So, this here is called malt. This is... It's 420 time. Okay. Well, Mr. Spot, you enjoy your tasty good thing. I'm going to enjoy my tasty good thing while I make more of my tasty good thing. So this is malt. Specifically, this is also cracked malt. This is malt that's been run through a grinder to reduce it to its powdery goodness. And that's kind of what it looks like. Basically, it is sprouted grain that's then dried. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But unfortunately for me right now, it's go time. It's big go time. It's go time. We gotta keep this party. Gotta keep the party going. By keep the party going, not lose everything into the what's called. So this vessel, the orange vessel behind the silly guys VTubers model, this is called the mash tun. Yes, that's how they got them to work. Well, that's how they motivated them to do. So here's the thing: when you need to motivate someone to build a luxury product, which is essentially what a pyramid is, you give them you pay them in a luxury product, which at that point in time was the beer. Beer was a luxury product back then. Like, beer's what fed you. Well, bread's what fed you. Beer was like the additional motivating factor. Okay. Okay, I'm nearly at 160 on here. We're getting really, really close to sparging in. Sparging in is a fun, magical process where we take the liquid in here and we convert and we send it into this kettle. Ooh. Oh. I need a thermometer. I desperately need a thermometer. I'm off to find a thermometer. Oh, goodness gracious. Why is my thermometer not where I expect it to be? Because a thermometer is actually very, very important. Oh, dearie. Oh, dearie, 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 dearie. It was not in the usual spot. That's bad. Ooh. Okay, so I'm not seeing it in any of my usual spots where I would keep it. So that means it is in an is it under you? No, it's not under you. It's either... Oh, smokes. Normally I keep it over there. And it's not there. Where are you, buddy? Where are you? Or did I not? Or did I break you? I think I broke you. Did I just not replace you? I may have not. Oh gosh, it has actually been that long since I last brewed beer, haven't I? That it has. Oh boy. Okay, so this is going to be interesting because I'm actually missing a tool. I'm missing a tool I normally have. Okay. Well, this is certainly interesting. So, my water here is over 160. So I'm going to start mashing in here a little bit. My first objective is to get 1 gallon of water into here. So I have a I had a glass thermometer, which at this point I'm now remembering I broke it for whatever maybe drunken shenanigans. I don't know. But I now no longer have a glass thermometer, and this is actually gonna up the difficulty level for what I'm doing. I could use a digital. I have digital thermometers, but the big issue with digital thermometers is we're working with a very wet process here. And digital thermometers don't like wet processes, and that's kind of my issue there. So, yeah, I have put this on. I've put myself on hard mode. Is essentially what this has come down to. Because I now cannot monitor my mash temperatures as easily as I would have wished to do so. Is what it comes down to. So we got 2 gallons in here. So now that we've got a little bit of liquidness in here, we can give it a nice good stir. But with only 2 gallons, my front door blew open last night. Oh gosh, froze the chicken's water and the tub pipes. Pipes thawed out and faucet started to leak. Got to replace the rubber gasket thingy, and I don't have any cats. Oh no, no cats. That's a terrible thing. Yeah, I am not looking forward to the temperatures that my location on the rotation is going to experience tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a rough day, which, granted, I did buy some kerosene today to run my kerosene heater, so hopefully I can stay a little bit warmer than I'm hoping to stay. Because it's gonna be a little rough for me. It's gonna be a little bit rough here. Okay, so that's now 3 gallons. And I'm gonna turn down my propane burner, because I don't want my water getting too hot. So, now that we've got a nice little bit of liquidiness to it, you can see that it turns and steams. Well, mostly the thing is we can stir it fairly easily. We want to give it a nice good little bit of stirring here. The main point of the stirring is we wish to break up the malt and make sure we have no... You can kind of end up with what's called a dough ball, where you end up with a whole bunch of malt all clumped up in like a circle. Undesirable circumstance. We do not wish to have an undesirable circumstance. So we're going to take measures against that. And by measures against that, I mean I'm going to throw some water. I'm going to be throwing some water at this. Okay, the cold won't stop us. I'll wear my thermals then. And I will dress in extra layers, which I am actually dressed in layers right now. Because my garage is like 60 degrees Fahrenheit right now, which is fairly chilly. It's not terribly chilly, but it's fairly chilly. And then we'll go ahead and give this a really nice stir. Now, granted, I am ultra like kicking myself in the butt for not having a thermometer, a glass thermometer handy, because oh man, okay. I'm gonna say finishing up coaster. Or, oh man, stay warm, man. Please stay warm. We need you to stay healthy, man. The world wants a healthy, good guy. Oh, actually, are my thermometers over on my shelf? They are. Not too bad, not too bad. Great, good to hear. What did I do with the thermometer? Jeepers creepers. I need a heater out here. Well, I've actually got my electric heater going right now. Wait. Can I do this? Yeah, sure, I can do this. I don't know if... So, let's see here. Guess what, chat? Field trip. Field trip, field trip, field trip, field trip, field trip, field trip. And... you can't see the heater. There's my... There it is, chat. There is my garage heater. That is an electric heater. It takes electricity and turns it into heat. Which I've had it running for the better part of the day, so that way my garage would not be super cold. But yeah, that's my heater. So, with that, back... Jelly, very jelly. Okay. But yeah, we're going to kind of go with kind of sort of a little bit this view, because this is sort of the main action happening right now, is at the mash tun. And I really, really, really want to get a thermometer. I'm going to get a thermometer. Now, the problem is, I can grab a thermometer. That's not a problem. But the problem is making sure my thermometer doesn't die. That's my hard part. Because here's the thing. I have this fun digital thermometer. It's good at being digital and thermometering. The problem is, it doesn't like water. It does not like water. That's my problem right now. So, I need, ideally, a piece of sheet metal. Because it actually has magnets on the back. That's what these are. Granted, they won't click the stainless steel. Stainless steel is actually not magnetic, by the way. But I need to, like, attach this to some metal, and then I can stick it down in there, and it can kind of do its thing. I'm going to have to just be right back. Because I know I have pieces of metal laying around. It's just, I have pieces of metal in storage. Because, well, I don't use metal a whole lot around here, man. Like, goodness gracious, I'm a woodworker. There's some metal there. Hello, metals. Actually, this is a long piece of metal. Do I have a short piece of metal? I might have a short piece of metal. That's what I want, is a short piece of metal. Actually, how do I feel about this guy? You know what? That's probably fairly ideal. Ooh, wait. Ooh, that's close. Ooh, wait. I got options. I got options. Oh, thank God I got options. Okay, you know what? I think I'll take I think I'll take this. This will be good. This will be reasonable. Oh my goodness, my gracious. Holy smokes, you're boiling. Okay, so what's going to happen is I have this. This is called a rigid S slide. It's a thing. I use it for work. The thermometer is magnetized to it. And then I can just have this stuck down into my mash tun, and the thermometer can give me temperature readings. That thing is getting very warm, by the way. Overly necessarily warm. So, let's stick my piece of metal in. There we go. That is great. I really need to turn down the heat on that. Really need to turn down the heat on this. And add water. Steamy. Steamy boy wonder. And let's see here. How many gallons do I want? I'd say 4.5 would be good. And that's 4.5 gallons. Woohoo! Hey, now don't complain about that. Oh boy, oh boy. But yeah. So, I now have temperature monitoring happening down here in the mash tun. Very good, very good. Well, actually, not just very good, but very important. Because if I don't have good temperature monitoring down here, it's going to make it really hard for me to do what I wish to do here today. So, for now, I drink beer and I kill time. This is how the early peoples of Mesopotamia would time travel. Is they would consume cornucopious amounts of alcohol, and then they'll fall asleep, and then they'll wake up, and then it'll be like 3 days later. That's actually how early time travel worked back in the old days. Really neat technology. We're still trying to figure it out, by the way. We just really don't know how they did it. Like, we suspect that it might have had something to do with some of the varieties of wheat and barley they were using at the time, but it's kind of like an ongoing field of research, and I don't have like enough like actual like expertise to really talk about. So yeah, okay. This is the mash tun's been sitting for a while. I'm going to crack it open. Let's see what we get. I'm really interested. Oof! So we've got 540. 540. Well, actually, so 540. Very important. This is actually ridiculously close to the temperature we want. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a really good vigorous stir. Because my target temperature is 155. And 154 is really, 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 really close. I remember the YouTube video about the history of beer. Thank you, beer. We love you. Yes, we love beer around here. Beer is great. Beer is amazing. I truly actually would not be the person I would be today if it wasn't for beer, because I know I mentioned it a couple times on previous streams, but the biggest reason why I have this as a hobby is actually due to the fact I hated myself at one point in time. I hated myself well, I didn't hate myself a lot. I just hated myself like a little bit. And I was like, man, all I do is consume stuff. I don't make anything. And then I thought about it and was like, okay, well, if I don't make anything, I should start making something. What should I make? And then I thought about it and thought about it. then it's like, eventually realized I should make beer. I consume beer. I should make beer, consume beer, and therefore be happy. And then that's how I picked up beer brewing in 2017, and I've been a home brewer of delicious ales ever since. And then in 2020, I started growing my own hops, which, after I finished Ember Ale, we all hit a point like that. Well, it's a matter of realizing that you want to do more with your life. I feel like it's not, I call it hating myself, but I can say that for myself. I won't say that for like how other people approach that type of epiphany or personal moment. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said for making a transition from being a consumer of stuff to a producer of stuff, and learning to find joy in making. That's also part, it's kind of one of my accessory reasons for doing this YouTube stuff, is to also find more joy in what I do. Because, you know, it's sort of like a lot of things in life, where like one of the ways you can find more joy in something is to share it with others, or to do it in a open manner, or also just have accountability partners. Thank you guys for being accountability partners. Okay, it's been a little while since we checked on the mash tun. I'm going to check on it. If I am near the strike temperatures I was originally hoping for, we're not going to mess with it. We're not going to touch it. I'm going to put the lid back on. It's just going to sit that way. So, let's see what we get here. Woo, it's steamy. Holy smokes, look at that. Look at that. So, it's probably going to change by the time I bring it up here. But we had 156. And that dropped quickly. Like, not like a little bit quickly, but a whole lot of bit quickly. And then I stick it back in there. And then it quickly approaches up and over 150. So, I gotta say, this mash is looking pretty good. I actually can't believe we actually hit our mash temperatures that easily. Now, granted, since I actually have it... Now, this, funny enough, this is actually my first time using a digital thermometer like this, and I am also deeply concerned if this level of humidity is going to ruin it. But we'll see about that. I think I have more of these if I can replace, so we'll see. But yeah, right now I've got 154. Well, I actually have 154 and a half. So, hey, you don't go into the vessel like that. You can go into the vessel like that. That's okay. That's okay. We are okay with that. But I'm not going to let you sit there like that. I am a reasonably forgiving brewer. But I'm not permissive of all things. Okay, so I need to grab a glove. Because we gotta get stuff ready for later. We gotta get stuff ready for later. Like, we're not just hanging out here over the mash tun. We have a brew kettle. We got a brew kettle, man. We gotta eventually do brew kettle things. So, have a nice insulated, very thermally warm glove. I've had some water that's been very warm for quite some time. And I'm going to take a sample of it. And there we go. Nice little sample. Quick question. I should apply the poly inside, right? I think the cold at the moment would mess with the coat. GGT, I would say reference the instructions. That's definitely a reference the instructions thing, because there are certainly finishes that require certain temperatures in order to cure. Right now, one of the main things that has been on my mind is, so I did some siliconing so this is Dynaflex. It's a white silicone, and it's waterproof. It's good for window, door, siding, and trim. This is an outside silicone. But if I go to physical properties, average temp range, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Really hard for you guys to see, but it's 40 degrees to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That means that those are the temperatures this best cures at. It means I can't apply it. It's too cold. It's like 30 degrees something outside. I can't silicone my windows and doors and what have yous. Which is funny because I bought one of these to do some siliconing. And I got one door done, and I started on door number 2 to do the weather stripping. What weather stripping is, give me a moment, going to the photos, weather stripping. Okay, let's see, we're not revealing anything. Okay, so here is a picture of a door. You can see kind of the door here on the far side. We have the brick surface, and then we have some white, a gap, and more white. The brick white, gap white is where the weather stripping goes. So that gap is an area where moisture can get in, where heat from the interior structure can get loose, various stuff like that. So, and then this is what it should look like. So this is me after doing the weather stripping, and this is something you kind of have to worry about if you haven't looked at your weather stripping in like 5 years. This is also can affect how drafty your doors or windows are, because essentially what doors and windows are, you basically have an opening in your home, and then you stick a frame in it. Now, in order to make it easier for someone to stick a frame in, the frame is sometimes like a ½ inch smaller than the hole you slide it into. So since the frame is smaller than the hole, you basically end up with a hole gap all around the edges. And that's what our good friend here, silicone's for. The silicone is here to fill that gap and make a continuous surface, keep moisture out, all those good things. And that's called weather stripping. Really important part of the home barrier. Now, I'm going to put a lid on that. The big reason I'm putting a lid on this is I want to keep the heat inside, because this is going to get warm. This is going to get very warm. I want this to get very warm. But for now, since I am exceptionally happy with my molt, I can cut this off. And it's off, just like that. Now, this magic water right here. This magic water I have in this vessel down here, right behind the model. What's that for? Well, this is for hydrating yeast later. So by basically warming up my water and having it at a very warm temperature for a period of time, I have killed off all the bacteria and various bugaboos that would be in that water. So essentially what the water in here is sterilized water. Now, one of the reasons why I set it off to the side, I put a cap on it, is I want to create a sterilized environment for a period of time. And then with the sterilized environment, I just take it, I set it on my workbench, and there it stays for a period of time. And yeah, that's what that does. And eventually when we add our yeast, we are going to be working with... So we are working with Saf Ales SO4. This is their English ale yeast. And yeah, characteristics. English ale yeast selected for its fast fermentation profile produces balanced, fruity, and floral notes, which is going to be really good for this English ale that we're making today. But yeah. So, congratulations everyone, and welcome to the most boring part of beer brewing, and that's the mash. So, essentially what we have done is that we've created a very specific temperature in the mash tun with our grains, and what we want to do is we wish for this to stay at that temperature for a period of time. Well, why do we want to wet grains at a particular temperature and then hold it there for a period of time? Well, that is for a process that's called conversion. Malt comes from grains. Yeast consumes sugar. Grains have starch. Starch is not sugar, but starch can be converted to sugar. Hence why we call this process conversion. Part of the process of malting grains is to, when you malt a grain, you basically take grain, wet it, you want it to soak up some moisture, and then you want to just be like, you kind of want to nudge it a little bit with your elbow and be like, hey buddy, we want you to wake up. We want you to try and sprout. We want you to try and become a barley plant. And then the barley seed is like, oh, some water? Okay, sure. Plant, yeah, I can do that. That's what I'm meant to do. And then it begins to grow. It absorbs the water and starts to basically go from its locked up state of a barley seed and starts to become a barley plant. Now, one of the first things it will do is send out a little root. And once that root is about half the length of the kernel of the barley seed, the malters are like, okay guys, great job waking up and becoming alive. We're gonna crank up the heat and kill you all now. And that's what the malters do. And they kill the hundreds of thousands of barley plants, tiny little barley seeds that are trying to become barley plants all across the malt house floor. And then you now finally have barley malt. Now, why would you kind of germinate a seed only to be like, no? The reason is enzymes. Because you want to get the barley seed to be like, hey, so enzymes are basically keys. And an enzyme key unlocks starch and turns the starch into sugar. And basically what you do with malting is you basically want to get the barley seed to pull its keys out to start taking the starch and turning it into sugar. The thing is if the process happens too quickly, or if you get like too far along, you end up with too much conversion of the starch to sugar. And the whole thing of this whole starch, sugar is storage. Starch stores well for long periods of time. Sugar doesn't. Granted, it actually technically does. It just does so as long as it doesn't get wet. But starch is a lot more stable in storage. And it takes up slightly a little bit less room. So that's why all of our humble little seeds and plants will store their various energy in starches, so that way they basically pack away things nice and densely so they can have it as a resource for later. And then when it's time to be like, it's grow time, then they convert it to sugar, and then they use the sugar use the sugar to go burr and to grow very, very, very quickly. So, and what we're doing right now is we're engaging in the process to convert the starches into sugars, so that way our yeasty boys, these bad boys in here, can have some wonderful, delicious food. Because if these yeasty boys have some wonderful, delicious food, then we get wonderful, delicious alcohol. That's how we get alcohol, guys. It's chemistry, man. That is what it is sort of kind of about. It's chemistry. Okay, so that's first beer done. Time for beer number 2. So, as promised earlier, I have here a homebrew. This is my pale ale that I brewed. I think making this beer was actually the last beer I made on stream. And this is a beer I made with hops I grew myself. So this has homegrown hops in it. So that is the weed glassware. So let's go ahead and pour the remainder out into the showcase. So yeah, there's a little bit of showcase right there. Pretty nice light color to it. A little bit of head, not a whole lot of head. Pretty nice looking. Nice like smell to it. Now, granted, I will happily drink the dredges out of my bottles any day. Gotta get those beer B vitamins in me, man. Because, well, the thing is I'm also very, how do I say this? Vegetarian in terms of my diet. And due to that, that means I'm somewhat reasonably short on B vitamins. So, brewer's yeast actually helps me out on that. But yeah, this is beer I made with my own homegrown hops. Pretty good. Kind of has like a nice, like a little bit of the hop flavor is a little bit sharp when you first try it, and then as it like rolls across your tongue, it kind of like mellows out, and then just becomes like a lingering aftertaste of pale ale. Well, lingering taste of hops, which makes it fairly good as far as like pale ales are concerned, at least in my opinion. But yeah, really good, really enjoyable. Can't complain. Can't not complain whatsoever. It's good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, this is essentially what amounts to the most boring part of beer brewing. Is you're basically waiting on this thing to do chemical reactions for an hour. So in between all that, we got some yappins. So I have here with me John J. Palmer's How to Brew. For those who don't know and are not in the know, this is basically like the most important book in homebrewing. If you really wish to understand the chemistry, a lot of the science behind beer brewing, this is like truly like a book for you. It has been an absolute fabulous resource for me in my brewing journey, and I really cannot recommend it enough for if you're an individual who likes brewing and you want to like get a little bit more into it. Let's see, Amber, 1, 2, 12. Okay, I think it was close because there's some really good examples here. I don't have any dextrose for the beer kit I got. I'm gonna have to use sugar. Hope it doesn't turn out too bad. Honestly, if you're subbing dextrose for sugar, you should be fine, Mr. Spock. I would say chances are you're probably going to be fairly fine. But one of my favorite graphs in all of homebrewing is this graph. And for those who don't know, the bottom part of this graph is your international bitterness units. The top is the original gravity. So gravity being the amount of sugar you have in the beer. Now, as we can see, we have this very dense cluster of beer style. And all these are beer styles, by the way. And then you also have a few outliers. The outliers are weirdos, and only weirdos particularly enjoy those styles. For example, at the far edge of the graph, we have the American Barley Wine, which is a beer with way too much ABV. I am an individual who enjoys beer that has a good little bit of alcohol for sure, but also pretty good helping bit of flavor. So, as we can see right here at this point is Amber Ale. 17 to 23 IBU. Oh yeah, okay, so yeah, your beer is going to be way over here in this part of the graph. At that IBU. So but yeah, this is kind of where I like my beers at. Amber Ale, really like that stuff. Making it today. Vienna Lager, really like this stuff. And right above it is Oktoberfest, my favorite. And as you can see, Oktoberfest is kind of like in the center of all this stuff. We got Pilsner over here. We have EBS. Wait, is EBS... No, EBS is not an English mild. An English mild would be way... Oh yeah, mild. Yeah, because mild's going to be like way further down on the original gravity. Because a mild's not going to have a lot of gravity to it. But then we have wit beer, Weizen, standard American lagers right below Weizen, Munich Hells. Oh, a good Hells. I actually haven't made a Hells. I really should make a Hells. A Hells is definitely really good, like beer style. Now, you can kind of see this graph has some circles and has squares. There's circles and squares. What are the circles and the squares? Congratulations. This is the biggest difference in beer. And that is the line between the ales and the lagers. Which in the case of our graph is the lagers are the squares and the ales are the circles. So we're making Amber Ale. Ale is going to be a circle. Lagers going to be a square. And they're going to be squares. Now, the biggest difference between an ale and a lager, because this is a very big question a lot of people will have. And can I set that there? Okay, cool, great. I don't have to, oh, there's a little bit of heat there. Okay. The main difference is in the yeast and whether or not it is a top fermenting or a bottom fermenting yeast. Top, bottom. The question that has occupied so many weebs for so much time is actually relating to where the yeasts do their job in the fermentation vessel. And for that, I also just want to throw on a little bit of light here. Just because I want to have a little bit more light. So a top fermenting yeast is going to be an ale. Most of the yeasts are going to do their job in the top of your fermenter, whereas a lager style, that's a bottom fermenting yeast. That's going to be more closer to the bottom mid-range of the area of your brewing vessel. And that's basically the main distinction is where the yeasts do their job. Essentially, is what it comes down to, is where the yeast will do its job. And the difference between ales and lagers. But yeah. Whew. That is the main thing between those two. Oh my goodness gracious. But yeah, I have to say, good tasting stuff. And better and best of all, this glass is empty. My weeb glass is full. But yeah, so that's a little bit of the difference between ales and lagers, and a little bit on gravities. And let's see, trying to think of what topics I've covered so far, because that's always like the big, because I do try to always address like some of the same general questions. Granted, we did have a question from Mr. Spock on dextrose for his beer kit. Now, for those who are following along at home, dextrose is technically a different type of sugar than what we call standard sugar. Standard sugar, as we know it, is actually called sucrose, whereas dextrose is a different type of sugar. And some people might be also familiar with various different types of fruit sugar, which fruit sugar is fructose. So we have dextrose, fructose, and sucrose. What's the difference? It is all in how the atoms, so here's the thing. In terms of the carbons, nitrogens, and the oxygens, and the different atoms, they all have the same amount of atoms. The difference is in how you put the atoms together. So yeah, I would generally say subbing sucrose for dextrose is okay. Oh no, don't tell me about Doppelbock. Wait, what? Oh man, wait, dextrose. DEX. Yeah. Okay. So I actually went to the index for my Don Palmer's Hella Brew, and they actually don't even have a reference page for dextrose. Actually, I'm gonna go to sugar, because that seems weird to me. Like, how dare you not have like at least some manner of reference for a dextrose? Sugars. Also see adjuncts for brewing. We have different malt sugars, caramelizations for priming. So, wait, tables. Acid. Oh wait, that's tables. Let's do for brewing. We start at 240. 240. But yeah, sugars. Sugars to use, glucose type sugars. Yep. Oh yeah, glucose. And maltose. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, there's so many different types of sugars here in the world. And then you can also multi-dextrin powder. The yeast consumes the dextrose easier. Sugar takes longer to ferment, but a higher alcohol over volume. Oh, okay. I mean, honestly, I was just like looking over my reference right here, and yeah, a big part of it seems to be like fermentability, which I presume is dextrose has a higher fermentability over regular sugar, whereas regular sugar it yields more alcohol per unit you add in. Now, granted, I am seeing a lot of reference to dextrin, so they say I don't know. See, here's the thing. I don't. Oh, don't lose my page. Did you make me lose my page? I was around 240. Oh, but good news for you. I got to go to my niece dance things. No cold for you. A brunch for me. Oh, okay. Okay, GGT. Common brewing sugars. Yeah. Okay, so I'm now back to my common brewing sugars. But yeah, this is why I have references. So we've got like sugar. Well, this is actually just saying sugar. We got corn sugar, which is typically what if I wish to bottle carbonate my beer, that's what I typically use is corn sugar. But there's also a nice comment section that tells you what it's for. So in the case of corn sugar, can be used for priming, which is typically what I use, priming for bottles, or as a wort component to increase alcohol while lightening the body of the beer. And then you have rice syrup solids, table sugar, which is generally what most people think of when they're referencing sugar, which for table sugar can be used for priming or as a wort component to increase alcohol while lightening the body of the beer. So I would say, based off that description, what do you ferment molasses into? Mr. Spock, I thought you would know better than that. Molasses is how we get rum. You get rum from molasses. Granted, you can also use molasses in beer, which there is a section on molasses. So there's extract yield, parts per gallon, 36. Fermentability varies, 90%-ish. Constitutes sugar, inverted sugars, dextrins. Degree of fermentability is unknown. Probably around 50 to 70%. Can cause rum-like or wine-ish flavors. Neat. Lactose is an unfermentable sugar used in milk stouts to impart a smooth, sweet flavor. Honey. Honey is a high fructose mixture of sugars which will impart honey-like flavors that depend on nectar source. Maple syrup. Maple syrup is mostly sucrose. Grade B syrup will provide more maple flavors than grade A. Okay, so if you want maple flavor in a beer that you're brewing, that's right, it must be stoned. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry. And then multidextrin powder, dextrins. Multidextrin powder contains a small amount of maltose, but is mostly unfamiliar as mouthfeel and some body. Okay, so basically, based off what I can glean from going through my table just there right now, means if you sub sugar for multidextrin, you're going to get more alcohol and a lighter body. Whereas if you were to actually go with dextrin, you would have a little bit more body, a little bit more mouthfeel, but slightly less alcohol for the beer that you're going for. Based off what I know. Which is a little bit, but not a lot of it. Now, granted, I'm actually very eager to fire this guy up. Let's see, what's my temperature on it? Damn it! Why dare you be so close to 180? How dare you be so close to 180? Because I actually want to really fire up the propane burner because I have my I've got my garage door cracked open to allow a little bit of airflow, and because hey, I'm running a propane burner right now and all those good fun things, but also that cracked open garage door is also imparting a fair amount of cold air, and the cold air part is a part I don't particularly enjoy. It was a lot nicer when I had the brew, the thing running on full tilt. Granted, we're actually getting really close to the end of the mash step. I think we probably only got round about 10-ish minutes. They make a buddy rum out of it if sugarcane. Yeah, well, molasses is actually made from sugarcane. Molasses is made from sugarcane, and then molasses is also turned into rum. From what I know, granted, rum is also a distilled beverage, and distilled beverages are very much, as far as my experience is concerned, very much outside my experience because that's illegal for me. I am not. It's not legally permissible for me to make such things where I live. I can brew all day long as long as I'm not making, I think, more than like 200 gallons of beer a year. I'm okay, which I am definitely nowhere near making that. I honestly think hitting 100 gallons is a lot. Brandenburg rum, Australia. Ooh. I like things from Australia. Some of my favorite YouTubers are from Australia. I will say that, like, I really like Australia's YouTubers. Granted, one of my favorite YouTubers, his name is Bo Miles. Does like a lot of adventure type stuff. God, I love that man so much. I truly truly love him as like, you're a great example of what a human being should strive to be, and I'm glad you exist. Really enjoy that guy. He has a bad, not bad, but he's got a book called The Backyard Adventure. Yeah, Backyard Adventure. And I actually paid 100 Aussie dollars for the book from him. You could pay less, but if you paid at the $100 tier level, you actually got a personalized message from him. And I got a personalized message from him that he wrote in the book that got sent to me, and it was really nice. It is kind of one of those things where it's like it's not supporting a VTuber Oshi, it's supporting an IRL Oshi, and just the things that he said back to me were really nice. Really nice. I deeply appreciate it. I miss the croc on your damn stingray. That stingray made a lot of people sad. Granted, I will say that about like a lot of the people from Australia. It's just like, you catch them on the wrong day, they will just straight outright call you an asshole or tear you a new one or whatever. But they're also somewhat very genuinely nice people. It's really interesting to me on how Australians are, on one hand, very unfiltered. Very unfiltered is the best way to put it. Australians are very unfiltered, but also very true to themselves. And I feel like that's probably the most endearing thing of the most endearing aspect of people from that continent. And that's why I mean, honestly, like one of my top places to visit, Australia is in my top 5. Like, of course, hey, look, I'm a weeb. I want to go to Japan. Sure. I like beer. I want to go to Germany, but also I do want to go to Australia because I think Australia is really cool. And also, my favorite animal is the emu. And holy smokes, do I want to go to the native land of the majestic emu. I very much want to go to the land of the majestic emu one of these days. Not sure when or if that will happen, but I'm sure one of these days that will happen. Damn dingoes. Well, Australia's got a problem with an animal, and that animal's called a rabbit. Which is one of the cooler facts that I think about Australia, is Australia built a fence north to south through the center of their continent to keep rabbits out of one side of the continent. Granted, I think that fence failed, though. Okay, so we're getting to a point. The amount of times I heard you speak of the emu. Sir, one of the formative experiences of my life has been as a young lad, a third grader tier young lad. I have cornered the emu in its habitat. Well, one of my uncle's emus. And third grade me was like, ha! Silly bird, I am human. I have cornered you. And then the emu slowly turns around and looks me in the eye and says, beep beep. And then I find out what a coyote feels like when he peels himself off the pavement. In my case, I peeled myself off the ground and was like, whoa! I got my butt kicked by a bird bigger than me. Yeah, don't pick fights with birds bigger than you is the lesson. Don't do that. Don't pick fights with birds bigger than you, chat. It's a bad time. Bad time. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't ever pick a fight with a bird bigger than you. It's very likely you will lose. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, we're getting close to wrapping up the mashing part of the process. And once we wrap up mashing, things are going to get very quick. And one of the thing is, once we get through with the mashing, things are going to kind of get a little bit more quicker paced. And well, I've been drinking fluids. So many fluids, and because of those fluids, I have to use the restroom. So I'm going to use the restroom, and I've been meaning to fill my goodie bowl. So I'm going to throw the BRB screen on for a few minutes. I'm going to use the little home center's room. I'm going to fill my goodie bowl. And after all that, we should get back to having some fun. So, see you here in about 3 minutes or so. And we're back. So I'm going to let this sit for about 2 more minutes. Temperatures are rising in the kettle here, which is good. Oh, look at that water. The water do the water things. I don't know what water things are, but it certainly seems exciting. Honestly, what seems exciting right now is, so these are my peanut butter balls that I made on last stream. And that's what they look like on the inside. They're crunchy, they're sweet, they have a nice texture to them. This is what my happiness looks like. But yeah, turned out really, really, really well. Really happy camper with these. Ah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I need that. I need that. Woo! Okay. Let's crack a lid open. And I think the humidity did the thermometer in. Which is fine because we got a temperature reading. That's all I wanted was a temperature reading, man. Oh wait, there it is. It's back. Oh wait, it's back. It's back. Woo, it's back. I'm actually curious. Thumbs up. Yep. 130. Yep. Good, good, good. Come on, get higher than that. Can you get over 140 for me, buddy? $142. Okay. 143. All good temperatures. All perfectly reasonable, good temperatures. So, that goes over there. Rehydrate. I expect all of you to hydrate appropriately. I believe in taking care of myself, and I expect all of you to believe in taking care of yourselves. Oh god. Too much effort. Far too much effort. Okay. And with all this, I must consume additional beer, energy, because we now get into one of the most arduous parts of this process. Recirculating the word. And no time like the present. So, dear chatters, you might be wondering, what is recirculating the word? Well, recirculating the word is brewer speak for I'm about to not have a lot of fun. It's essentially what it comes out down to. But recirculating the wort is the process where we take the wort and we move it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth through the mash tun. The purpose of this process is to produce a filtered bed of grain. that we then use woohoo! That's hot. Hot, 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 hot. Way too hot. Okay. But yeah, very steamy times. Very warm, which is actually quite nice in these chilly times. One of the reasons I spilled strike water everywhere. One of the reasons why you go in with such hot strike water is you want to essentially what you want to do is stop the conversion process. And if you go in with too hot of water, the water will actually leach tannins out of the beer, which is a undesirable outcome. Now, as you can see, the wort is why is it? How do I do that? How do I do that to myself? Okay, that's gotta get turned off. Woo! A little too hot there. Getting far too hot to handle. Okay. But yeah, we don't want this to get too hot. If this gets too hot, then it pulls tannins out of the beer. Art is done. I've returned to the safety of my cave. Good to hear, Mr. Bear-coon. Good to hear that you've returned to the safety of your cave. I want to do something. There we go. I can live with that. Let's sit for a bit, and we'll pour that up. Come up. So what we want to do is we want to have a wort that is free. Well, you better lock your car, buddy. That is not a desirable outcome. But yeah, a big reason why we're doing what we're doing here. Well, big reason why I'm adding all this additional water to it is to provide additional water volume at a higher temperature in order to dissolve sugar out of the wort. Because if the concentration is too high, it makes it really hard to pull sugar out of your wort. In which case you get less sugar out of your wort, which means you end up with less gravity. Less gravity means you end up with less alcohol, which is the worst scenario of them all. We want to get as much alcohol as we can, right? Right. Oh wow! Wait! I got a scenario going on here, man. My quick lock was leaking. There we go. But yeah. I gotta say, so far, this has actually been going pretty well. I haven't noticed a great deal of floaties in the wort, which is actually really good. Normally I get more floaties, which floaties are basically like impurities. And And because this is what I'm looking at when I evaluate my impurities, is I'm looking for floaty bits, which I do see some floaty bits. Unfortunately. Now, as I run water through the mash tun, back, I hope. Well, I hope so too. I hope you're ready to get comfy and cozy. Because we are still just very much in the beginning of this beer brewing process. Now, still have quite a ways to go though. So, we want to take a look at that, and we want to evaluate for floaties, which I'm actually not seeing too many floaties in this. As you can see, we have a really, really nice, like, dark color, almost ambery to it. You're gonna do see a few floaties in it. So, and essentially what that means is when I have like floaty bits to it, it just means I have to like let this recirculate for a while, because as the liquid moves through the mash tun, the mash that we added to it becomes a filter bed. And then using that filter bed as medium, we end up with a beer product we can be happy with, which I'm still seeing some floaties. So this might be a case of I might be a little bit generous. I mean, honestly, I feel like we're still pretty early into the brewing process. So I'm not entirely worried just yet. Definitely in a position where I have more time to play with and time I don't have to play with, you know? Okay, let's throw those up there. Come down, back down. What we got? What we got? Still see me some floaties in there. But yeah. This is... If mashing's the most boring part, this is the most tedious part. You can actually buy pumps for this. You can just basically buy a pump to do this part of the process. And some brewers have pumps for that. I'm not one of those brewers because I do this very much strictly at just the hobbyist level. So I don't have pump budget. Which is admittedly fine. Like, typically, because we ended the mash at 130, we're now at 142. We've been doing this for like 10-ish minutes. But it's really important to have a good flow rate and to keep that flow going. Because if you don't keep that flow going, you miss out on... Ooh, wait a second. I see one small floaty bit. Oh, I see a few more. Okay. Aw, Jiminy Crickets. We were close. We were close. We were very close there. On almost being done with the recirculating part, but even if it takes a little while, guess what? It's not really a big deal, because even if it takes a little while, we still have plenty of time. And it's kind of like one of the big things with like brewing, especially like home brewing, is a lot of things just come down to how much time you're willing to spend on the process. Like, there's certainly things you can do to speed processes along. I will have to say, going to a propane burner versus an electric stovetop has probably been the biggest benefit I've noticed in my brewing. So here's where we're at right now with our wort and clarity. So we have a nice color, but it's also very clear. There's very few floats, very few small pieces of grain, which is actually what the floaties are. It is basically small bits of grain that get suspended in the solution. We don't want that in the finished beer. We want to filter that stuff out. Hence why we are doing all this process right now. So if we take a look at... So here's a sample of what we got right now. You can see it's very close, very clear. It looks like one floaty in there. Or is that a bubble? That looks to be a bubble, which is good. Really, really, really good. Okay. So I am going to finish up filling up the remainder of this at a high flow rate. And then once I fill this container up specifically, we're going to start actually filling up the kettle. We're going to start moving towards boil. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Capture. Any last bits? Ba-ba-bing. Huzzah. Gloves. Glove. Because we have a little bit of water left. We have ourselves a little bit of water left. And more importantly, there's some floaty bits in there. We're going to pour that into our tun. Once that's poured into the tun, we'll set this back on the burner. Then this guy gets turned. And then I'll take a little plastic tube and attach it to the spigot. And basically what the tube does is it helps keep the stuff from splashing out. And then I crack it open. Then we slowly let it in. And now this is the beginning of the wort. Well, we already have wort at this point, but this is actually like actual like nice proper wort at this point. And you know what? Let's get a little bit out of you guys. You can go here, here, and there. Okay. So, since we are home brewing today, we're going to be cracking open home brew number 2. This is my Oktoberfest. Oktoberfest is really good beer, by the way. This is Oktoberfest I brewed back in September for the express purpose of being able to consume Oktoberfest till the end of the year. Because that's the sort of human being I am. Now, we have 1 gallon in here. And with that, there we go. Flame has been established. Yes. Yes, Sir Zion. We've got fire now, but rather than the little bit of fire that this small amount of fuel can provide, we are now hooked up to 5 gallons of the cleanest burning fuel that Hank Hill would approve of. But yeah, we're mashing out. So here is spigot to the mash tun. Here we got our mash going into our kettle. And this is going to be our wort. This is basically the foundation of beer. This is beer's origin story. This is where we take our malt, process it, get the sugar out of it, turn it into a liquid form, and we're going to now boil this for a fair amount of time and turn it into, well, we're going to add hops to it. Sweet, wonderful, delicious hops. And then we get the beers. Then we get brewskis. Like this brewskis. Oh, wait. Can't see that brewskis. Gotta see the brewskis in its full glory. Sweet, wonderful Oktoberfest. I've said it once, no, I'll say this as many times as I have to. Oktoberfest is the greatest style of beer known to both God and anime. I am a massive fan of the Oktoberfest beer. Well, the Oktoberfest beer style. So we're coming up close to 3 gallons on our wort. Still plenty of stuff in our mash tun. And then if you drip your finger in it and give it a little bit of a taste, it should taste sweet, plenty sweet. And that's kind of how you know you have good like sugar conversion. You also do like temperature measures and such. Whenever I go to a convention, I keep singing October Best Version Amelia figure for sale. I just want the normal version one though. I mean, yeah, she's great, but admittedly, I would be biased on the Oktoberfest, but I honestly don't buy much plastic. Unless it comes in the form of plastic that you store music on. That's typically my main form for consuming plastic weed media. I buy CDs. I buy a lot of CDs. Well, I used to buy a lot of CDs. I buy less CDs nowadays. The digital embrace, well, digital distribution has definitely done some really good things, and Oh my goodness gracious! I still wish I could I really wish I could figure out how to use Booth one of these days. I might learn how to. I might sit down and learn how to use Booth one of these days, but I still Booth still scares me because Booth is like one of those sites where it's like you have to use this accessory site to use, but it's different than from Tornoana or Melon Books. Let's see, Tornoana, Melon Books. What's the other one? No, it's not Alice Books. There is an Alice Books though, but Alice Books is actually in like English. Like it actually deals to, like it primarily markets to the Western audience versus Melon Books or Tornoana. What's some of the other like big doujinshi stores? I think it's Tornoana and Melon Books are like the two big dogs. Yeah. And you'll usually have to use a proxy. I've used, I think they're called Tenso, Tenso. I've used them before, and they're pretty good. Yeah, Tenso. Okay, sweet. And they can like they're like a website you can basically they're a service where you can basically register an account with them, and when you register an account with them, they give you a Japanese address, and then with that Japanese address, you can go to various stores and have stuff shipped to that address in your name, and then Tenso basically like takes all that stuff, consolidates it into a big box, and then just shoots it across the Pacific Ocean. It's a nice service. There was one service I used to use called, there was a small doujinshi good shop called White Canvas. Way back in the day. I feel like it's way back in the day now because they actually closed up shop pre-COVID. And I feel like pre-COVID's like a good pedometer for way back in the day. But I used to buy a lot of stuff from them, and goodness gracious, I actually truly miss doing business with them, because when I did business with them, what I could do, a different era indeed. Yeah, it was a different era. Gosh, what was it? There was one time I was like talking to some coworkers regarding the difference between like the pre-COVID and the post-COVID era, and I remember there being like one specific thing that like the COVID pandemic helped bring about, but I can't for the life of me think of it now. I know it's not the proliferation of QR codes in the West. That's not it. VTubers, oh god. Oh god. I became very familiar with idol culture at one point in time. And at that certain point in time, I was like, man, this stuff would be dangerous if it escaped across the ocean, but due to the way idol culture is, I don't see this escaping Japan. And then VTubers came around, and then idol culture escaped the physical limitations that enabled it to like be a thing, and it's like, well, okay, well, that Pandora's out of its box, and there's nothing I can do about it. But goodness gracious, there was something. I know there's like on one hand, there's like a greater awareness in the West of like wearing masks, like Honestly, if I feel like I was really sick and I had to go out in public, I would probably still wear a mask. Just to, like, like, keep disease transmission to myself, Um, Shucks, I forget really what the point was. There was some small thing that was like a gain to society that we all felt like it was like a gain to society. We all felt like that we got because of the COVID years, and I now can't think of it. Granted, it's weird to like look back on those times nowadays, where it's like, wait, there was a time where we just stayed at home all day. What do I need to do to go back to those days? I miss those days. I miss staying home all day. Well, actually, I didn't really stay at home all that. I kind of sort of did, because at the time I was working in warehousing, so I still had a job, but during the like prime lockdown months of like March, April, and May, my company rolled out a lot of rolling furlough days. Well, furlough weeks. And I got a lot of time off work. Food delivery and easier product pickup options are something we sort of got. Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about the food delivery though, because food delivery people make just so little money. I feel real bad about that. I know there was an increase. Yeah, there wasn't. One thing that did personally benefit me was a greater embracement of like online signatures and online filling out documents. Because when was it? I want to say November 2020 was when I did the official signing the paperwork for my home. And the fact that people used to have to go to a bank and just sign a whole like stacks of paperwork, whereas I am sitting on my sofa in my living room and I am just going through these documents at my leisure. I will say e-doc sign was definitely a big thing that I felt like was a pretty good win. And holy smokes, we have like well over 6 gallons of wort. This might be interesting. This might be interesting. Granted, the amount of wort in the mash tun's going down, but at 6.5 gallons, I have to shut this off. I have to shut the mash tun off, because we're kind of at the problematic point. And by problematic point, so there's a part in this process which is called hot break, and that is when the kettle actually achieves full boil. Right now, we're in pre-boil. This is pre-boil. This is basically the calm before the storm, and when we hit boil, it's going to be a storm. So, actually, let me do myself a favor. Kind of pull this out a little bit. Can I maneuver you a little bit back? Maneuver you a little bit back. Get a little bit more space to work with here, because I'm going to be needing my stir stick, and I'm going to be needing my stir stick a lot as we get to this point, because we're looking at 6.5 gallons of wort, which is good, which is really good. Because we're going to probably lose a half gallon to 3/4 of a gallon of our liquid volume just to boil during the boil process of this. So I'm going to go ahead and slightly amp up the burners and then proceed to continue to think about what it was, because I'm because part of me wants to say the mRNA vaccines were a gain from COVID, which technically they were. I don't think they would have caught on as quickly if it wasn't for COVID, but there was increased public health awareness, increased awareness of how diseases are transmitted. That was that I would like to think of that as a societal gain. This bugs me. Because there was some really tactile way in which society benefited from those years. That was an improvement I don't think we would have gotten otherwise. Great, this is going to just bug me for the rest of the night. That's what it's going to do. It's just going to bug me for the rest of the night. Oh my goodness. What did... I mean, granted, I'm not going to lie. I don't know how other people felt about the COVID times, but I was one of those individuals who thrived during COVID just because I really liked just staying home and not doing anything in particular. Granted, also, so I actually kind of sort of became a homeowner late 2019, and I knew going into 2020 I was gonna start gardening, because it's like, okay, I have land, I can do whatever I see fit with it. So I bought seeds, I bought supplies, I bought a lot of stuff really before it became super popular. And it was an odd time for me because it happened right when I was, oh man, right when you're finishing university. Yeah, that would be rough. That'd be really rough. Okay. Guys, we've got hot break. Well, hot break's about to happen. So this is the part where this thing bubbles like a cauldron. Please calm down. Please calm down. Please calm down. Come on. Just spill over a little bit. I'm okay with a little bit. Oi, 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 oi. No emojis like that. Damn it, this is why we have the whole thing of the witches running over a boiling kettle. Bam! Bam! Behave. Please. Thank you. Stop having opinions. But yeah, fun fact. Everything about witch imagery is all related to brewing. The cats, the black cats, that is all due to cats being used as means of keeping vermin out of the malt, which is grain. You're being very aggressive, Boyle. The bubbling cauldron is, I feel like, pretty self-explanatory at this point. And then the hat, the witch's hat. So traditionally and kind of sort of nowadays, women have been traditionally shorter than men. Women wearing big pointy hats was actually a means of them standing out in markets. Because traditionally brewing was like a small, like, it was like a home craft, which is essentially what I do. What brewing is at my point. You're making really weird noises, buddy. Please settle down. But when housewives would take their homemade beer and sell it in markets in Europe, they'd wear big pointy hats in order to stand out in the market. And I feel like there were a few other like aspects of witch imagery that relates to brewing. But yeah, witches are basically women who make beer. Why do you have to be this aggressive? Why are you just making like such awful noises? Why do you do that? I'm gonna call off your supply of propane, buddy. Good evening, Dad's old chop. How are you? Hope life's treating you well. I hope you're safe. Please stay warm. Also, I would like to extend that to everyone out there, especially if you're based in the US right now. Please stay warm. Unfortunately, Canada is about to share its air temperatures with us, and while I wish to generally have positive opinions about Canada, whenever Canada decides to share its air temperatures with us, I am honestly going to have negative opinions of Canada. Sorry, neighbors to the north, but you need to keep that air to yourselves. I feel like you're generally all right. Like, you guys made the handle for the scythe I bought, and I appreciate that. But please keep your air to yourself. So once this settles down, I can actually start to add hops, which I actually have to reference my actual instructions because I did not write them down. Because normally I write my instructions down, but I did not write my instructions down today. That's my malt. Okay, so we're going to be going in with Centennial. Doing good. Leaving a friend's birthday dinner. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. Just seems like there's... I don't know if it's just like me, but there seems to be like a lot of birthdays in the month of December. December seems to be a big B-Day month. Granted, admittedly, I'm quite biased in that sense because my B-Day also falls in this month. So, it looks like my boil settled down. I'm not getting any aggressive foaming. I am not having any boil overs. So, we can start adding hops now. So, first hop of today's brew is going to be the Centennial hop. Well, Valentine's Day is 9 months. That's a chop. You didn't have to point it out like that, man. Granted, I know. Granted, I can at least confidently say that I'm not a product of Valentine's 40 weeks. Okay. So, I'm supposed to do a half ounce. I have a full ounce in my bag, but that full ounce of Centennial hops calls for an alpha acid of 10%. I have 8.9, which means I'm going to be a little bit generous with my hop additions here. But when you always first add your hops to your beer, be slow. Just add a little bit of hops and watch the wort react to the hops, because sometimes this will very easily and quickly foam up on you, and that's can get away from you. Ask me how I know. Sharks, I know in my case, being born this time of year was merely a fact of my parents having a little bit too much fun in the month of March. Okay, so the boil's being reasonably behaved, so I'm gonna go in with a little bit more, and I'm gonna end it with that. Because I also know I'm short with some of my other hops. So we have now begun the hop boil. So we have wort, we now have hops. And now what's going to happen here is these so the Centennial hops I have added are going to be known to brewers as our bittering hops. These are going to be the hops that are going to be contributing the sweet, sweet alpha acids to them. These are going to be essentially the main backbone of the bitterness of the beer. Now, as the boil moves along, we're going to be adding other hops, which is probably going to be a little bit while from now, because we don't add our next, because you add your hops in stages. The reason you add your hops in stages is because you want to pull different flavors out of the hops, and when you pull those flavors out of the hops depends in large part to when you started boiling the hop. Hops like these Centennials we added, they're going to be a large part of the bittering compounds, the main backbone of bitterness for the beer. These are going to be the primary things that are going to be counteracting a lot of these sweeter flavors in the malt. As you can see, we have a nice dark brown, almost chocolatey malt. Well, chocolatey wort. Granted, I actually really like this view. Today's stream is actually a little bit of an experimentation on different camera angles, because traditionally I've had my camera anchored to my workbench here, which has kind of got a view from here to here, and I'm experimenting with it having on my utility cart, which I like the idea of, simply because the utility cart is very movable, and it gives me a lot of different positioning options, which I gotta say, I like having options, especially when it comes to doing crafting streams. Especially doing things where I have to move things, because at one point we were a little bit focused on our kettle and we were a little bit focused on the mash tun, which is where, well, basically the area behind my model right now. Now my mash tun is up here, and it's up there doing things up there, whereas the kettle is now down here doing things down here. But yeah, I gotta say, I really like this view. This viewpoint. It's good. Now, it's been a while. Let's have a peanut butter bowl. Oh. Mmm. My gosh. I love it. Mmm. Homemade confectionaries for the win, man. Mmm. Also, this is why I really like semi-sweet chocolate chips, because semi-sweet, you get there's definitely some nice sweetness to them, but there's also a nice bitterness backbone to them. Which, funny enough, is kind of how like you're gonna end up, buddy. But yeah, some candy can just be like a little bit too. Well, some chocolates can be a little bit too sweet. Looking at some of you milk chocolates. But here, we got really good balance. You gotta really appreciate good balance. Mmm. My goodness gracious. Ugh. Live, damn it, you single bastard. You gotta give presents to your niece and nephew later this seasonal Christmas season. And I also finally got a gift idea out of my sister, so it's like great. Once I get her and the husband in love and taken care of, I am 100% done on my Christmas shopping. So I am. That is something I'm really close to finishing. And I'm really looking forward to finishing it. It's just unfortunately for my sister, I have to actually go to a physical store and take care of her because reasons, and honestly, I don't think I'm going anywhere tomorrow. Granted, I will be streaming tomorrow, and also, I'm sorry I haven't made a waiting room for tomorrow's stream. I kind of spent the morning just being like la-di-da and then taking care of some other stuff, and yeah, time kind of sort of got away from me, and I haven't had a chance to make a waiting room for tomorrow. But yeah, hello, Yoshiharu. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you're having a good day. I gotta say, I'm having a good day. Well, for me, manufacturing beer, drinking beer, good times, always good times. And also, I'm slightly experimenting with shot composition, and I gotta say, this is probably the best camera angle I've had for a brewing stream. At least as far as like when it comes to boiling the wort. When it comes to boiling the wort, this is like the best it's ever been. Like, I am immensely happy with this. Now, granted, like, what's the time? Holy smokes, there's so much beer left. Keepers creepers. I haven't been drinking beer quick enough, but you know what? That's probably an alright thing. Oh, goodness gracious. What else? Is there anything I need to take care of? Because we're roughly 12 minutes into the boil. Now, there are things will get more exciting once we get to the 30-minute mark, but past that, I should have... Okay, yeah, I should have brought... Well, yeah, I should grab that. So, I'm gonna take a quick moment. I'm not even gonna do a BRB or whatever, because, hey, you can be just Just be hypnotized by the cauldron. Just be hypnotized by the cauldron. I need to grab a carboy. I gotta search for a carboy. Hello, carboy. Carboy acquired. Kell's being behaved. There is beer. And even better. Are sweets! Sweet, delicious sweets. Mmm. Oh, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm absolutely talking about. Oh, cool. Are those Buckeyes? No. These are peanut butter balls. The chocolate coating is a little bit imperfect, but these are meant to be peanut butter balls, which are very similar to the Buckeyes. They're a very similar type of creature. I actually, so not only the chocolate coating to be mostly covering the ball, being part of the difference between them and Buckeyes, is I don't think you can fully see it quite so well, but there's some wider spots in them, and these have Rice Krispies in them. Which add to the texture. But yeah, the dough is made of butter, Rice Krispies, powdered sugar, and peanut butter. And then you have a chocolate coating. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. Cannot. This is my holiday season treat of choice. That's been shared down the family line for a very long time. But yes, very yum. Very sweet, delicious. With a backing of peanut butter that just makes it amazing. Besides, I honestly think actually, I don't know. I actually don't know how my family would react to actual Buckeyes. Because at family gatherings this time of year, it is sweets everywhere. Sweets everywhere. So many sweets. Like, just you walk 3 feet and you trip over sweets. Like, peanut butter balls are like these guys are like the star. Like, everyone in my family is like, those have to be there. My aunt, she makes some really good white trash. Oh, sweet. Now I'm hungry. Yeah. Sorry, Yoshiharu. I actually ate a lot. I ate a whole plate full of straw hats prior to stream, so I am quite full. I am very full. I was actually a little unprepared going up into stream. I was like, wait a second. It was like, wait, finish eating food. Okay, I'm happy. And Lately opens eye. What time is it? Oh dear goodness, I got 20 minutes before stream. Which, I did actually have a lot of my shop infrastructure. Like I had my kettle here, I had the mash tun here. I had a lot of my other stuff set out. Granted, I did not have my water hose, which is the white hose you see down there, which is an RV water hose, which means it is certified to carry portable water. Because for a period of time, I was like, bumkiss, I'm just going to use my garden hose because it's there. I already have it. It does the job. But I had a feeling people would say something if I use garden hose water for the water for my beer. So I bought an RV grade hose for my beer brewing streams. So I could be like, okay, buddy, okay, guys, you can't say anything about my brewing setup. This hose is certified for portable water, water meant to be consumed. Like, look, I was a kid who grew up in the depths of the 90s. I drank so much water out of hoses. And enjoyed it too. Because, holy smokes, like cold water out of a hose was definitely some pretty good life. Now, granted, some of the best fun I had with water hoses is so, for those who may not, shucks, I really hope there's no one here who does not know I did that too. Well, I hope you had plenty of fun with Super Soakers. Because I hope everyone here had lots of fun as a kid with Super Soakers, because Super Soakers were so much fun. And the most galaxy brain idea I had as a young child is I actually had a Super Soaker that had a backpack. And part of the Super Soaker backpack setup was there was a hose that went from the Super Soaker to the backpack. And I looked at the end of the backpack connector, and I was like, huh, that looks like something I could screw up to a garden hose. And one day I screwed up. One day I screwed the end into a garden hose and tested it, and then just opened up the valve on the spigot outside to the garden hose. And the water pressure from the garden hose automatically filled up the Super Soaker. And basically, I had a peak 90s kid moment of like, holy smokes, I've discovered infinite ammo in real life. Oh my goodness. Which, the moment of discovery was really fun. What was even better is some of the neighborhood kids were having a water gun fight in the front yard, and then I come around the corner of the house I basically come around the corner of the house, and they're like, oh, okay, well, there's a bunch of us and only one of him. And then they see that my Super Soaker was hooked up to a garden hose, and they realized I had infinite ammo. And then they scattered. It was amazing. I didn't have super soakers, but my dad did that. He made one. He made me one from PVC and hooked it up to the hose with a thumb trigger valve. Nice. Very nice. There you go. Oh my goodness. But yeah, it was real, because one of the things with me when so I was actually one of the more elder kids in the kid group I ran with. With a lot of the kids, I would be like the oldest kid. And one of the things with that is the younger kids would like to gang up on you because, well, you're the older kid. You have a fair bit more life experience. If you want to just bloink the kids out of existence, there are times where you can just bloink the kids out of existence. Now, granted, I didn't really do that. I generally liked the kids I ran with back then. But it was just real fun with the Super Soaker thing, is because like the kids were having like their Super Soaker fight, and then I entered the battlefield, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna dogpile Sugi," and then they see Sugi with infinite ammo, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to win. We can't win this fight. We can't win this fight. Retreat, retreat, retreat." Oh man, those were good times. Really good times. Granted, that's an aspect of my childhood I wish other kids get an opportunity to experience, and that is working with the stuff you have and then figuring out how to make it better. In my case, I had a Super Soaker gun that had a backpack, and the backpack was supposed to make room for more ammo. And it was fine, but it had the same fitting as you could hook onto the end of a garden hose, and I was able to draw the dots and draw the dots, connect the lines, all that good stuff, and was able to be like, "Ooh, I can have some fun with this." And regardless of how things go with the younger generation, every young generation is going to have their issues and their challenges. I graduated high school in 2000. Well, actually, I did not graduate. I did not graduate high school. It's complicated. I did not graduate high school in 2008, but I essentially entered the job market in 2008. And for those who know anything of that period of time, kind of wasn't necessarily like the best time to be entering the job market. But for kids nowadays, as far as I can tell, I think the biggest, most important skill for them is to learn the difference between what is a good reference and what is a bad reference. Explanation time. A good reference is information you can count on, information you know is good. Something that you can... So, to borrow an example here and not make a mess of my workstation, here is a machinist ruler from Miller Falls Tool Company. So one side has really fine measurements, one side has more coarse measurements. The ruler is the information you can trust. And the point of the ruler that is information you can trust is you can take a random block and say, let's use this block of paraffin wax for instance. You want to use this tool to see if this measures up. And okay, no shattered glass. That's a really good sign. I accidentally knocked the glass bottle off my shelf. But being able to determine with somewhat reasonable confidence of what is and is not AI bullshit, I think is like one of the most important skills for youngsters to have nowadays. Because one of the things that irks me the most with like AI and stuff is like AI referencing its own work. And when AI references its own work, it basically becomes a hall of mirrors of bullshit. And you just get really bad results. Or even like really weird, just straight, like not truthful things. Funny enough, speaking as a YouTuber here, there's a AI like inspiration tab in like my like creator studio type thing I have on this website. And funny enough, one of those, and you can click on it, and then it's basically like AI generated video ideas. Essentially, is what it is. One of the ideas one time was VTuber does wood whittling for the first time, which, as an idea, it's not necessarily a bad idea, but it also auto generates thumbnails for you. But the auto generated thumbnail was an individual using a bow drill. The type of bow drill you would use to start a fire, not do like actual wood whittling. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I have enough like back references to look at that and be like, wait, that's not right. And that's what modern kids need to have. Like, modern kids need to have references that they can trust, references that they can use to make a ruler, and then be like, okay, the world says, here you got this. How's it measure up? And then they can call BS, or whether or not they can trust it, or call BS on it. And I think that is the biggest, most important skill for youngsters to learn. I have a niece and nephew in my life, and I'm going to go to great lengths to make sure that they're well equipped with skills to handle the world that they're in. Because the world that they're in is a lot different from the world that I've lived in. And goodness gracious, I've rambled far too long. I've rambled far too long along that thought process. We are at the half-hour mark. Knife gets to come back out and open up a bag of hops. Specifically, Mount Hood. Which, easy enough for me, I get to add the whole bag. Now, you don't always add the whole bag all at once. You never do that. Don't ever do that, because after you add a whole bunch of hops to your beer, the boil can get very frothy. So you always kind of want to add it in stages. So I added basically half the bag, watched how the boil reacted to that, and then, okay, so the bag didn't get too particularly crazy, so I just dumped the rest in, you know? And that, now it's doing its thing. Now it's happily doing its thing. Goodness gracious, I I'm really surprised with how little beer I've consumed this stream. I feel like I've done more on past beer brewing streams. On past beer brewing streams, I feel like I've been fairly, I wouldn't say aggressive, but yeah. Yeah, the beer has flown. The beer has flown. And that's that one. So, let's see. We're in the boil. What do I want to drink? Honestly, what time is it? Oh, yeah, it's 7. Okay. So, now's a really good time for what I call a spacer beer. And this is a thing with me. I think NA beer really shines at. Really shines at is the practice of a spacer beer. So what a spacer beer is, hey, you're wanting to knock back cold ones with the boys, but you're not wanting to get effed up with the boys. So what you do is you use spacer beers. So depending on the pace, it can be, I would say you would want to use a spacer beer once per every 1 beer or every 2 beers. And what that is after 1 or 2 beers, you have an NA beer. And what the NA beer is, gives you a delicious beer flavored beverage that has no alcohol in it. And what the spacer beer does is it gives your body a little bit of time to be like, okay, I have absorbed this much beer. I'm now gonna and when you add the spacer beer, it gives your body a little bit more time to take that beer, process it, do what it needs to do, all that good stuff. Really good stuff, I think. I think there's a lot of I don't want to quite use the word negativity, but there's a lot of people out there who think you should just chug beer and different things like that, do a lot of the typical toxic frat boy stuff. Here's the thing, I am never going to encourage anyone to drink outside their comfort zone. If you're going to come in here and be like, hey, I've had a rough day, I could use a beer. And then I'll be like, okay, hey, you know what? If you haven't really been abusing the beer or the alcohol, by all means, have yourself a beer or an alcohol. Whatever makes you happy. But if you come in here and you're being sloshed, I'm going to be like, okay, hey, I care about you. Have an NA. Have yourself. Granted, I really like the Heineken Double Zeros. Get yourself an NA. Get yourself water. Water's really good. We're really getting to the evening times where I'm located at. And with the evening times, it is a good time to have some roasted barley tea. Really good stuff. Cannot recommend it enough. Really good stuff to just have in the fridge. It's tasty. There's no... It's low to no calories. Absolute great stuff to have in the fridge. Cannot recommend it enough. But yeah. Get yourself something that will get some hydration in you and get you feeling a bit closer to how you should be. Because a lot of what we do around here is built around being the best you can be. And sometimes that is making alcohol. which is what we're doing here today. And at other times, that's building a woodworking project, which is what we're going to do tomorrow. Because tomorrow, we're going to work on... So tomorrow's game plan is we're going to be working on cutting out pieces for... I'm going to be building what's called a flip cart tool stand. For those who don't know what a flip cart tool stand is, it is basically a tool stand that has basically the top flips. It flips. And when it flips, it gives you access to a different tool. Now, I only have one tool planned for it. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a second tool planned for it, but that's plans down the road. Granted, a certain VTuber by the name of Dad's Old Shop reminded me this past week that he owns a drill press and I don't. And I certainly could use a drill press in my life. That is certainly something I could use. Which that is going to be the next shop upgrade for me, is a drill press. Granted, I actually, wait. It is right there. It is here. Holy sm- Oh god, I forgot how heavy you are. But yeah. This is my latest shop upgrade. It is a stacked dado set for my table saw. And I'm not planning on exploring this tomorrow. Ideally, we're going to be exploring that next week. Part of next week's streams. Next week's streams, we'll actually get into working with that. For tomorrow, a lot of tomorrow is going to happen at the table saw. We're going to be doing a lot of table sawing. We're going to be doing a lot of piece cutting, dimensioning. That is my main goal for tomorrow. Lots of piece cutting for the flip cart tool stand. I'm trying to think, because there's going to be a lot of piece cutting for that. I'm trying to think what else, because I'm mostly planning to do a lot of the piece cutting, basically getting all my pieces dimensioned out. But I'm not planning on doing a whole lot of actually making working with the pieces. Not trying to make actual work process pieces is kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm going to actually work on milling and dimensioning pieces. Well, further making the pieces on a separate stream, and then the third stream in that series will be final assembly. Is my current game plan vision, but we'll see how tomorrow goes. Who knows? Because I did do a little bit of pre-cutting, simply because the build plans are hey, here's a full sheet of plywood, break it down. And yeah, I've broken down full sheets of plywood on stream before, and I don't intend to ever do that again. Breaking down sheets of plywood, 4-foot by 8-foot sheets of plywood, is an absolute pain in the butt to do that on stream. To do it in the shop on my own time, where I can take my own pace, and I don't have to worry about doxing my face. Much more manageable. Far more manageable. But live is... I think I've done it 2 times. where I've broken down full sheets of plywood, and it's like, I'm not doing that ever again. That has firmly been within the realm of one of those things I have tried doing, and it's like, okay, do what I can. Do I like doing it? No. It is firmly within the no. I'm not doing that. It is rough. It is a lot of work. So many things. So terribly many things. Okay. So we have about 60 minutes in this left. So since we're getting to that point, oh wait, I should do that. Actually, let's do this while I'm thinking about it. Ugh. So I took my work chiller and I dipped it in my sanitizing solution to kind of sanitize it a little bit and to get a little bit cleaner. Because the thing is, you kind of notice with the copper and such is you get a little bit of patina on it. That patina is going to come off in the boil here that you're currently looking at, and yeah, that means all that copper ends up in your beer. So beer's a good source of copper nutrients, guys. If you need more copper in your life, you need to make some homebrewed beer with a copper wort chiller. Yeah. That's how you get more copper in your life. Okay, we got 15 minutes left. Let me double check my hop regime. Yep. So, we have the Willamante. We got these hops. These are going to be the last hops for today. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that's what the hop pellets look like. And just throw a couple in there and we will let the brew decide whether or not we wish to add more. Because I want to let that settle out because I don't want to end up with a bad time. Bad time is a boil over. We really don't want a bad time. So, looks like it's being very stable. We'll throw the rest of the hops in there. With the rest of the hops in there, we now get to just watch that do its thing. Now, granted, I was actually hoping for I was really hoping for this to actually like warm up the shop. Because during warmer months when I do this, like this actually warms up the shop by a fair number of degrees, but this actually has not warmed up the shop at all. It's like, wait a second. Like, wait a second. Come on here. This is supposed to warm things up a bit. Okay. So, we are in the final bits of this. Yep. Mm-hmm. Hoja. To Sugi. Hot diggity dog. So, I'm gonna take my mash tun here and where are you? There you are. Hello. So I'm gonna take this bad boy. I'm gonna use it to scoop big scoops of malt out of the mash tun for the purpose of cleaning out the mash tun. Now you might be asking, hey Sugi, why are you cleaning out your mash tun now? Well, you see, the reason I'm doing it now is because eventually, here shortly, and not really a long amount of time, we're gonna be cleaning the wort. Well, chilling the wort. And when we chill the wort, we're gonna be taking a lot of that hot fluid energy and taking it places. When we take it places, chances I'm actually going to be dumping it in the mash tun. The reason I'm going to be dumping it in the mash tun is to conserve hot water to clean everything up after I'm done. Which doesn't seem like it makes much sense, but trust me, it makes sense. I've been doing this for a while, whippersnappers. I've been at this brewing process for a while. More than the average VTuber. Granted, I say that from the perspective of individuals like Zerzion, who revealed that COVID was the end of their... Well, early onset COVID years were the beginning of the ending of their university days. Whereas, in an ideal world for me, the end of my university days would have been 2013. Was I did actually start going to the schooling during the winding down of those years. Yeah, it was 2021, I think, when I started going to school for HVAC. Yeah, that's when I actually started working on my HVAC certification. Which, by the way, I did get. Okay. So, need to start thinking here. So, I've got my yeast there. I've got my notes. There's no notes. I am terribly ill prepared for today. I've got yeast. I'll get set over there. Yeah, we're just kind of chilling for now. Is what we're doing. So, if we're chilling, I'm gonna be eating peanut. You have no idea the power in this notebook. This notebook. So technically, this is the 63rd beer I brewed. Because these are the notes from the last one. These notes go back far, like when blue ink was a thing. But yeah. Notes for the first brew. Now, granted, I don't know what I meant by. I know what I meant by DBZ Super, but I don't know what I mean by Jack. Past brew day review. Things that went well. Mash temperature. Adding hops on time. Things that could have been better. Be careful with knives. Grain bag scorched on the pot. Sanitation could have been better. And those were the notes on the first brew. And then I have like a separate thing for. And then this is second. Like brewing has been a process. It truly has been a process. Chucks, it wasn't until in third brew that I actually started adding date notes. But yeah, I have been doing this fun, neat, weird little hobby called homebrewing for over 8 years. Yeah, it's been over 8 years now. Owie. And guess what? I hate to break it to you guys, but it's a fun, neat little hobby that makes you more interesting as a person. Which are my attempts to like peer pressure people into the hobby. Wonder if we'll be able to fill out that whole 8 years. Actually, so here's our divider. These are pages I filled. These are pages I've yet to fill. So for pages I've yet to fill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh dear. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, we're almost there, 19, and 20. Okay, so there's 20 pages left. This page is technically going to get filled today at some point. I'm going to work on filling this page at some point. But that's the thing. That is one side of 2 pages. So we still have 4. So we'll still have like 39 entries left. And yeah, that's still 39 entries left. Which is probably going to be at least 4 years. It's going to at least be 4 years left working with this notebook. But yeah, so we got time. We got time. I currently have no plans on slowing down my beer brewing production at this point because, well, beer's delicious. Beer's delicious. I enjoy making it. It's good stuff. It's gonna be. Well, years go by fast, so we'll get there. Oh, years go by fast, Yoshiharu. Don't be revealing your age like that. Because that's how you know people are old. Is when they refer to time moving quickly. And if you want to get a little bit of an insight to the why of that, the the reason why older people perceive time as moving quicker is how the brain works. It lies in how the brain works. And how that works is things that are novel and new stand out to your brain and are therefore to leave a more imprinted memory. But as you gain experience, i.e., age, less things will stand out in the realm of experience that you've already experienced up to that point. So less stuff will become novel, and as less stuff becomes novel, fewer things will make a big impact on you and therefore your brain, and therefore time will be perceived as moving quicker because the suite of experiences that you experience are more in line with the backlog of experiences you've already experienced. Which is a whole bunch of rambling to say, if you wish to have more, if you wish for the perception of time to go slower, pursue more novel experiences in your life. Because with more novel experiences, your brain is going to be like, whoa, I have never experienced that before. I'm going to just like vigorously write down so many notes. And you want to do a lot of that if you wish for your if you wish to hack your brain to perceive time moving slower. Is how that works. Okay. No beer time. Which that's basically how these beer brewing streams go. Basically talking about how life works while also consuming copious amounts of beer. While also just trying to be like, hey, here's how life works. Food's good. Food's very good. Okay. Yes, we are very much pro food around here. Food is amazing. Food is great. Food is to be celebrated and to be huzzawed. We firmly believe in huzzawing food around here. So, we've gotten 1 hour in our boil right here. The pot is very hot. I should not be touching it in the way I am. But, you know, those people who are like, ooh, this is hot, I should not touch it, but then proceeds to touch it again. Hey, that's kind of how I am. But yeah. Okay, so, this is good. We're doing good here. Nothing more to worry about. We have done a full... Have we done a full hour boil? It's only a little bit over 3 hours. It seems a little soon, but I'm pretty sure we've done a full boil at this point. I know with our hops, I've acted like it's been a full boil, so... I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the burner. And with burner turned off, I am going to go ahead and grab my yeast packet. So, we are now going to engage in the process that is known as hydrating the yeast. So, Might be asking me, hey Sugi, how do we hydrate yeast? Well, here, it's really easy, simple. You take sterilized water that you've already sterilized earlier. You take yeast to it. You add yeast to your sterilized water, and then you take it and you set it off to the side. And then the yeast are going to hydrate. Now, why hydrate yeast? So, the yeast I'm working with are what's called dry yeast. When you're working with dry yeast, the dried yeast are like yeast put to sleep. Whereas when we make this beer, which this is the stuff we're going to turn into beer, we don't want to take the yeast that are asleep and throw it straight into its working environment. Hydrating the yeast is an in-between step. We are giving the yeast a morning routine. We are giving the yeast a chance to stretch, drink multiple glasses of water, and to engage in biological processes and just be like, oh, okay, big stretch, okay. Oh gosh, I was asleep. I'm kind of like limbered up and ready to do stuff. Like we're trying to get the yeast limbered up and ready to do stuff. And by do stuff, we're gonna do stuff to this stuff. Which by do stuff to this stuff is take the sugar in this stuff and turn it into like stuff that makes Sugi stupid. Later. So, I've got 2 hoses. Hose 1 goes in mash tun. Hose 2 will go on to my... This is going to be a real fun part of this process. It's going to go onto my hose here. I'm going to hope my hose flows freely. You might be like, hey Sugi, why are you worried about that? And I'm like, the temperatures outside are cold, man. That's what I'm worried about. Whoa! Okay. The water does flow. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. The water flows. Yes. Yes. Huzzah. The things outside are not frozen. Damn it, I don't want to replace a hose bib, ma'am. Just because I just wanted to stream on a day that was cold. I mean, granted, I've actually been brewing beer like this for a period of time now. And I haven't had any... Here's the thing. If I was brewing tomorrow, I would be worried about that. I would truly be worried about that because the temperatures would be in the teens. Right now, temperatures are right at freezing where I'm at. So it's like, it's close to being cold. Well, it's cold, but it's not that cold. There's a big difference there. Okay, we can set you there. But yeah, so what I've got is my wort chiller here. It is chilling my wort down. That's what's all this fun stuff. I've got my yeast getting woken up, and there's a little like science lab thingamajig. So now the big reason why I do what I do with this is by taking my first runs of hot water and putting them into the mash tun, is it allows me to take the heat from here, turn that into hot water that goes to here, and then I use that hot water after I end stream today to be my cleanup water, which is what everything in this tub down here is going to become. That's going to become hot water for cleanup later. And that's kind of just basically how I reduce waste. Because if I use water for cleanup, well, if I use it for chilling my work, and if I use it for chilling the work, plus having hot water for later, you know what? That's water I use 2 times. And water you use 2 times is water that is not wasted. And that's kind of like a... I try to be efficient. I try. Not super successful at it, but I try. I make effort. I'm like, take it easy on me. I've been knocking back brewskis all day. Like, come on. There's only a certain level of competency you can expect out of a VTuber who has been consuming alcohol and is trying to engage in a practical art. Which brewing is an art, by the way. Ooh, yeah, that's still quite warm. Yeah, that's still quite warm. It's below 170 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's cooling down. Now, that's actually kind of one of the fun things about the current environment that I'm working with is it's a lot cooler. Yeah. Right now, it's 56 degrees in my shop right now. I have done streams making beer in my shop during the summer months, and it has gotten over 80 degrees in my shop during the time it has taken me to make beer. So it's cold, which is to an extent unpleasant, but also like you know what? I'm not burning up. Which, sorry about that. Actually, sorry. We're gonna give you more of a top-down view here because reasons. Because I actually had to finagle my utility cart into a position where I could here. Can't necessarily see it when it's in place, but I have this PVC. I have this stick of PVC, which actually, you know what? That will work too. That will work. So, after I fill up the mash tun with warm water, I'm going to stick my other end of my work chiller into here, and then my water is going to, yeet itself out of the shop. It is going to yeet itself out of the shop. Now, granted, I also have to worry about... Oh, okay, cool, sweet. I have that. That's good. That's really good, actually. That's really good. So the wort is under 150, and this is also kind of one of those things where it's like, you did it. You did the brew day. You mashed your beer. You added your hops to your beer, and you did all those things. You're hydrating your yeast. You're just sprinting towards the finish line. And now you just wait for 5.5 gallons of liquid to cool down. But yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with brewing. And that's also another reason why I don't worry about age restricting brewing streams or anything, because it's like, here's the thing. Youngsters who have no business getting into alcohol don't have the patience to make their own alcohol. There's easier ways for them to access alcohol than, than to make it themselves. Granted, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if the youngsters in my life wish to experience the joys of alcohol before age, I am willing to be an enabler in that under certain conditions. Condition 1 is they must be above 18 years of age. Condition number 2 is they must abide by the creation of the beverage by my own rules and the consumption of the beverage within my own rules, which, by the way, is going to basically be underlying my... They're going to have to consume it under my supervision. Basically, I'm structuring the rules in such a way where they're just going to be like, okay, you know what, Uncle Sugi? Yeah, we're going to find other places for that. And I'm like, okay. You're young adults. And and you signed off on me being the inebriator. Well, the enabler. There's some good puns there. But yeah, you signed off on me being responsible for what happened, so I'm really okay with that. Oh gosh. Oh man. Granted, I'm like shucks. I truly cannot wait for my niece and nephew to like really grow up. Granted, where the pathway they already are on is like really exciting, because like the nephew unit loves books. He loves flags. He is good at math, which are all good things if it wasn't like, oh dear goodness gracious, you're predisposed to becoming a Sheldon, which is the most concerning thing with him. That's the most concerning thing with him. Is like, oof. You've got a little bit too much Sheldon foundation in you. And then there's my niece, who is literally the goat. And my niece is literally a goat. Like, she thinks it's perfectly acceptable. A perfectly acceptable... Oh, dang it. I did not want my PVC to end up there. I can retrieve it, though. My niece, on the other hand, she thinks it's perfectly acceptable to give a greeting by taking her head and just ramming it into yours. She is a mountain goat. And I do appreciate niece, who is essentially a mountain goat. But she's also very adventurous. Like, I think she's gonna grow up to be a very interesting young woman, I think. Based off how she is at this point. But that's also like another fun thing about kiddos is like, you get to see kiddos being young, and then you get to see how they grow up. Because it's like, okay, they're like this now. How are they going to be this? How are they going to be like later? So, I'm going to take my PVC, set it off to the side, because my mash tunnel's nearly full. And then I'm going to take that, and then ram it kind of in there. Yeah. Ooh, that was close. That was really close. Woohoo! And that will actually, can I turn this? I can. Holy smokes! That will hold. That will hold, and more importantly, that will yeet water out of my shop. That's what I want. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, it's done. We're done with you. No, don't spill water, places. Okay, and that's done. That's done. Let's. Propane tank can come off burner. Fermentation bucket comes up. So, mash. We're at 110 roughly. 110 degrees Fahrenheit. It's still too warm for yeasty boys. Far too warm for yeasty boys. We can't put the yeasty boys in there. They're not equipped to handle temperatures like that. So, we gotta let this chill a little bit more. Ideally, we get this down to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Ideally. That's my goal. Now, with... Oh. Oh! Okay, I have more research to do. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. So, during last stream, I did... My iPhone displayed some low battery mode stuff, which I was like, okay. Been a little bit shenanigy. That's somewhat to be expected. And then it displayed a low battery mode against it. However, though, with today was with an essentially a new cable. Because what I thought was going on was here's the old cable. Like, you can see the wear marks on the USB connection. And it was also being like, the USB was also being like really close to the like it was really loose fitting in and out of the socket. So I was thinking the looseness of that connection was some of the reasons why I was having some like slight issues with it. But unfortunately, if the iPhone's displaying issues today, because I essentially have the iPhone running on a new cable today. This means I have to probably look at getting a new iPhone, unfortunately. I don't want to get a new iPhone, but probably... We'll see if these issues... Granted, today has also been like a 3.5 hour stream. Granted, that's also kind of the things with... That's one of the things with like a Brew Day style stream, is like the Brew Day style streams are usually fairly long. These are generally the more longer streams I do. Like last stream I did... Granted, the last stream I did was like long compared to what my normal streams are, which was like right at 3 hours, whereas like my typical campfire cooking streams, they're usually around 2 hours. Looks like, yeah, around 2 hours is reasonable for those. Last one went a little bit longer than normal. Granted, there's nothing wrong with that. But as for today, like, it's perfectly normal for a beer brewing stream to go on. Like, this is reasonably good pacing for a beer brewing stream. Oh, owie. We're actually under 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Nice. Which means under 100 degrees Fahrenheit means I can pitch yeast into this, and the yeast are not going to die. Which is good. It's very good. It's very good when the yeast don't die. Holy smokes. I've been shorting myself terribly on beer this stream, it feels like. I have not had a lot of beer this stream. Which I'm going to work on finishing my Oktoberfest. And then I think once I get my Oktoberfest finished, we can actually start taking this, putting it into my fermenter, which is this white bucket that is behind my model. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Once we get this liquid into that bucket and then pitch the yeast into it, we're done. Yay! This is beer brewing. It's a process. It's not a bad process. It's a process. And if you want to get like good results, thou shalt respect the process. Like, that's just the rule. That is just the rule, man. So, I'm going to be cracking open. This is actually a new beer to me. It's a... I put beer in my beer. I put beer in my not beer. What a weird place to put beer, man. Oh, goodness gracious. So, for my next beer, I'm doing Base Layer. It's a winter IPA from West 6, a brewery I really, 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 really like. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're at, like, basically 90 degrees here, so. Step 1 is I gotta get my sanitizing solution out of my fermenter. So, step 1 is I give it some swirls. And the point of the swirls is to... The reason I give it swirls is so that way it kind of hits all the sides of the container. I think the sanitizing solution is probably going to be done after today. Okay, there we go. Also, I probably should upgrade my funnel. But once again, process of getting all of the sanitizer out of the fermenter is another process in a process, nestled within processes. Brewing beer is just a series of Russian dolls. But that's what you just have to do to get like good results. What happens if you run out of beer to drink while making beer? Mr. Spock? That's negativity that we don't want to talk about, man. We don't want to talk about that kind of negativity. Man, I keep just spilling stuff. That I do, which is fun. It is fun. Almost done. Almost done. There we go. There we go. Granted, we have yet to run out of beer. There's still plenty of beer. Some people might run out of beer. We'll burn the beer, but not me. Not me. I'm a higher level of beer brewer. Okay, we cut that off. But I'm going to leave it in there, though. Darn it. Should I don't think I want to leave that in. I don't want to leave the PVC pipe in there. It's the thing. Okay. So, I have clean, sanitized fermenter. So, you're bringing my kettle over, open, and yeet. Now, big part of bringing the beer into the fermenter. Expose to oxygen, expose to oxygen, expose to oxygen. This is the only time you're allowed to expose your beer to oxygen. And that is because yeast need oxygen to reproduce. And if they don't have access to oxygen, they won't. They won't be able to reproduce as well. So I'm going to give this a nice big swirl. Sniffadoodles. And then it gets thrown in there. And guess what? Guess what? As far as the government agencies that regulate alcohol consumption, what's in the white bucket is alcohol right now. Even if there's no alcohol in it. Because right now there's just wort mixed with yeast, which will eventually make alcohol. But that's actually, for legal definition purposes, that's where the barrier resides. Barrier resides in between when you add yeast. Once you add yeast, it is now legally an alcohol. Oh my goodness, it's been getting cold in here. Why has it been getting cold in here? Oh, that's why. Holy smokes. Okay. Well, it is certainly getting cold out there. Because it is now like... Oh. Sorry for that. It's just... It's been a long stream, man. It's been a long stream. Stop making those noises. I don't want to make those noises, man. I want to make those noises. So, I'm tilting my brew kettle while keeping an eye on my push up. At least we have beer. Yes, we have beer. So, I'm gonna just chuck that there. But yeah, as you can see, doing things the way I did left a lot of hop material in the brew kettle. Sure, there has gotten some amount in there, but I'm okay with some amount. As long as it's not a lot of amount. A lot of amount is too much, you know? You know? So, we cap. Oh. Whew. Where am I? I had a airlock. Yes, there it is. There it is. So, this is my airlock. I need to fill it with sanitizer. Ooh, my goodness gracious. My goodness gracious. There we go. Open you up. So, this is opened up. Ugh. Ugh. Put some sanitizer in it. Just a little bit, not a whole lot. You just need, there's actually a handy dandy fill level on it. You don't want to go beyond that. Then you position it on your fermenter. Take your cap, cap it, then put the auxiliary cap on it, and there you go. Congratulations, there is beer. Ooh, sweet, sweet, glorious beer. But yeah, once again, that is how you make beer. Now, I wished I kind of wouldn't mind yammering a little bit at this point, but one of my organelles isn't gonna let me yammer. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in today. My name's Sugi Yamagawa. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, evening. Oh boy, the types of streams where Sugi punishes his bladders. But yeah, I'm gonna be live tomorrow. Actually, probably within 13 hours of now. Hopefully I'll see you all then. But if not, whatever. I actually kind of plan on having a reasonably full week next week. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But yeah. Have a great day, everyone. And also, please stay warm. Please stay warm. It's about to get really cold out there. So stay warm. And with that, bye-bye.